Good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we have finished a very important chapter where the scientific aspect of homeopathy has tried to explain over there our remedies, why they act. And we have discussed all the aspects which Robert has mentioned over there in order to understand the scientificity. And if anyone asks us how your remedies act, we are able to explain with the help of that. And that's why the Robert has tried in his book the scientific aspects of homeopathy. Same has been done by earlier by the Stuart Close. Now we have to start with the one more chapter from the third year syllabus, that is the chapter number 10, the law of cure. Let us understand what he wants to say regarding the law of cure. So we'll start directly with the book. All natural forces are based upon law. These laws do not operate in a limited field, but are universal. To illustrate, the law of gravitation is not limited in its scope to the Earth, but its influence extends throughout the universe. Kahneman, by his fine observation and the inductive method of reasoning, became convinced of law of cure, similia similibus curantium, and embraced it and declared it to be universal, a basic law of therapy. So, to start with the chapter, he has explained that if any law, which is called to be a really a law, a scientific law, it should work anywhere. It is not limited to a particular area, particular part. Then that law is called as universal law. And Hahnemann understood this concept. He took 6 years to develop the law of similars. Once he understood the concept of it in 1790, he worked hard to show to the world the law. And 1796, after a lot of experimentation, he came to the conclusion of this law and he declared it to the world, the law of similars. Why he took the 6 years? Because he has used the inductive method of reasoning as explained by Lord Bacon. He has tried all four criteria which Lord Bacon has mentioned: the exact observation, the correct interpretation, the scientific construction, and the rational explanation, on the basis of which he tried to explain, yes, this law is scientific and this law is rational. And then he declared, this is universal law. Wherever you apply in the field of dynamics, this never changes. So the nature's law of cure is also an example of same example of it. A weaker dynamic affection is permanently extinguished in the living organism by a stronger one if latter, whilst differing in kind, is very similar to former in its manifestation. And you apply it in any dynamic, whether it is related with the sound, whether it is related with the light, wherever, any field of dynamics you apply, and this law is true. That's why it is called as universal law or nature's law of cure. So this is what he wants to explain over there. If there is any general way, if there is any general law of cure, that law must express some relationship between the medicine and disease. To be of any practical use, such a relationship must be exhibited, and we must be able to demonstrate such a relation between disease and its remedy that any examination of the former shall determine latter. Nothing can be known of the disease save through the phenomena known as symptoms. These are evident to our observation and senses and must be recognized. These phenomena represent the individuality of the disease in the only way in which we can recognize it. A corresponding capability exists in the drug of producing an individual, although artificial disease, which we recognize through the same method of observing the phenomena produced after the administration of the drug. The power to produce these phenomena is what we call the properties of the drug. So he is explaining now the scientificity behind the law of cure. First important thing is that if there is any disease, we can understand that disease only on the basis of the signs and symptoms which it produces, to which he labeled by name of disease phenomena in the form of symptoms. So every disease has that specific language that it expresses through the signs and symptoms, because of which we know that person is diseased and that person also knows that he is diseased. This is the only way. If we want to understand the drug phenomena, we have to prove it on healthy human being. You have to give it to the healthy human beings of different ages, both sexes, at different places with different potential. And we have to write down what it produces, what phenomenon it expresses. We have to find it out what are the symptoms which comes out after proving that remedy. Whatever comes out is called as a drug phenomenon. If we know the disease phenomena on one side and another side the drug phenomenon, if we know the properties of drugs in the form of signs and symptoms, if we know the disease properties with the help of signs and symptoms, we have to apply only the law. And if there is any correlation between disease and drug properties, is homeopathy. This is the only science where there is a direct relationship and law is there. Only thing is that you have to apply the disease properties to the drug properties to the disease properties on the basis of law of similar. And then you get a cure. There is no question of thought. There is no question of speculation. There is a question of scientificity, the law. And this law, if it is there, it expresses directly a correlation between disease phenomena and drug phenomena. And that's why it is scientific. Then he further says, it is the characteristic of the disease to produce certain phenomena which are not observable in perfect health. This is true whether changes are functional or structural. What we recognize as symptoms are all that can be known of the disease. It is only through the observation of these expressions that we can make any use of the law of cure. And there can be no general consideration of rule of cure unless it comprises a consideration of symptoms as one of the necessary elements. One might say that comprehension means akalan, understanding, comprehension of symptoms of a given case was one of the primary factors. And insofar as one comprehends the expression of disease in this phenomena, is one equipped to follow the law of cure in any particular case. Symptoms are the only representative of expression of the disease state. We include sensations as expressed by the patient, the appearances in all parts of the body, the varied circumstances under which these symptoms were recorded, and the varied grouping of these symptoms in any consideration of the case. So what he is saying? He is saying that the disease phenomena, how we know the disease phenomena? We know disease phenomena only through the signs and symptoms. So whether that symptom might be a functional or that might be a structural. There are two types of phenomena. Every disease first expresses at the functional level and later on it expresses at the structural level because there is one law which is called as the law of biological phenomenon. This is what is the law? Law is functions creates the organs. That is a simple law. 3 words. Functions creates organs. First, there are functional manifestations, and after functions are defined, then structure develops. In the similar manner, first there are functional manifestations happens, and if it persists for longer time of duration, the structural alteration develops. So it is not the thing that yesterday the heart was normal and today the heart has hypertrophy. It is a long phenomenon. It takes long period to develop structural change. So every structural pathology, it takes long time to develop. But functional symptoms appears very early. And with the help of those functional symptoms, we are able to catch the totality. If we are able to catch that totality, which is at the functional level, and we find if we apply the law of similars, we find the perfect remedy for the case when it is at the functional level and give that remedy to the patient. You cure that patient and there will be no further structural change will happen, no pathology will develop and patient will be cured at the same level. So this is the importance of law of cure and this is the importance of understanding the disease phenomena in the form of signs and symptoms. Generally, it has been overlooked If the patient comes and tells you that, doctor, I am having very severe headache and I am having headache over here and there is a severe heaviness. Since last 3, 4 days, I have consumed so much medicines and not getting the result. And it is there. This symptom is very important what he is telling you. He is telling you there is a pain. Where there is a pain, pain is at the glabella. How is the pain? There is a heaviness. The third thing, it is indicated with the tip of the finger. For an allopath, this doesn't matter. For him, the symptomatology doesn't matter. He thinks whether it is sinusitis. He thinks whether there is any other problem. He thinks whether there is any pathology. Because for him, the symptoms never plays any role. For homeopath, these symptoms plays very important role. And you reach to the remedy. Yes, patient requires the Kali bichromicum. That's all. The simple remedy. So how we can come to the Kali bichromicum? Because we know the symptomatology and we apply the law of cure. And this is what he wants to explain over there, that this disease phenomenon, we have to understand, if we are able to understand this disease phenomena in the form of symptoms, those symptoms which expresses through this very specific sensation, very specific location, with very specific modality, with very specific concomitant, because those are individualistic. Symptom is same. For example, patient has malaria. There is chill followed by rigor followed by heat followed by sweat. That's all, malaria. It is the diagnosis. But this will not give you a remedy. Those symptoms never give you a remedy. But if patient comes to you and patient says, doctor, I was sleeping at night and at midnight, exactly at 12 o'clock, I suddenly wake up and I got rigors and my whole body was shaking, and thereafter it remained for half an hour and then I got heat. And during that time, I required want to drink water and used to drink water sip by sip. He is giving you the characteristics which matters a lot, which expresses the individuality of that individual with its symptom. Symptom was same. Symptom was rigor, but individualistic. Symptom was rigor associated with concomitant of thirst, sips of water frequently for warm water. Then you reach, yes, at the midnight, 12 o'clock, aggravation, it's arsenic album. Then you reach to the remedy on the basis of not on the just a symptom, but the characteristic symptoms. The individuality of the individual is expressing through that symptom, and that's why we are able to reach to the remedy. And this difference he wants to explain over there. Symptom expresses in two ways. First, it is just expressing the disease, and second, it expressing the individuality of that individual. When a symptom is noted under circumstances and not under the other, this obvious relation between the symptom and its related circumstance is in itself a symptom, or rather a part of symptom. The sensation being quite incomplete without expressed relationship of the circumstance. Very often, the concomitant of circumstance is of greater importance to the whole case than expressed sensation. But the sensation is much more frequently expressed by the patient. See what he is saying? Very important thing which he is explaining over there. Every symptom, unless and until it carries its own sensation. Every individual has a different sensation. Someone comes to you and he says that I am having very throbbing type of headache. Another comes to you and he is saying that he is having heaviness in head. The third comes to you and he says that he is having neuralgic pains in the head. The fourth comes to you and he says that my head has become numb. See, what is everyone is having headache, but everyone's sensation is different. So that is first important thing. Everyone will going to tell you a different circumstance. Someone will say, doctor, whenever I wake up in the morning, I start getting the headache. So he is having headache after rising up. Second says, no, doctor, I'm always okay in the morning, but as sun increases, my headache increases, and as sun sets down, my headache decreases. Third patient will come, doctor, I used to get headache only at night. I never get it daytime. See, everyone is having a different circumstance behind it. So a sensation become the symptom become characteristic because of first its location, because of its sensation, because of circumstance means modalities, and number four concomitant. That's what he is saying. Very often the concomitant of the circumstance is of greater importance to the whole case than the expressed sensation, but the sensation is much more frequently expressed by the patient. Sensation is very easily expressed. Doctor, I want to tell you that since yesterday I'm having very tremendous headache. There are continuously as if it will burst. He's expressing the symptoms. Sensation he is expressing as if it will going to burst. So much of congestive headache. You get that sensation and then you reach to the remedies which has that specific sensation. But many times you get many remedies. But if once there is a one symptom which is associated with it as a concomitant, then the case becomes more simple. If patient says, every time I get the headache, I used to get the severe acidity. Always I used to vomit it out, and once I vomit it out, then I feel better. Vomiting is a concomitant or headache is concomitant to the vomiting gastritis. Then you come, yes, this might be a Robinian. So concomitant makes your prescription more confirming. So unless and until the symptom becomes characteristic with location, with sensation, with modality, with concomitant, it never becomes a characteristic. And unless you get the characteristic, you cannot reach to the remedy. So law of similars, you cannot apply without having the characteristic symptoms. Two or more symptoms may appear together or synchronize with each other so frequently that they are really one symptom and must be considered in such as such in our analysis. As nothing in nature can be represented by single property, so no disease can be represented by single symptom. So he is giving one more example that if there are two more symptoms which are alternating with each other, then it has more significance. If there are patients who are suffering from the gouty rheumatism, and he says that whenever there is a dysentery, his gouty rheumatism settles, or whenever there are hemorrhoids, his gouty symptoms disappear, and whenever hemorrhoids get better, his gouty symptoms reappear. Now, two symptoms having a correlation with it and having an alternating presentation gives you individuality, because of which it becomes rather simple for you to reach to the remedy. So which is the remedy? Rheumatism alternates with hemorrhoids. Any idea? Yes, first remedy in your Matriamedica, that is Abroten.
Tell me.
It is Abroten, very clear. Rheumatism alternates with skin symptoms. It is Dalkamara. So when two symptoms combine together and showing some relationship, it has certain meaning. That's what he is explaining, that instead of one symptom, patient comes to you with hemorrhoids and doesn't have any specific sensation, any specific symptom, then you cannot reach to the remedy. But if he gives you certain things, then you can reach to the remedy. So law of cure becomes strong, or you can apply it strongly if you have combination of symptoms. Then he further says, a law of cure must represent some relation between the properties of disease and the medicinal qualities of a drug. Or in other words, we must have some concept of the character of the drug's action on the living body that will interpret law of cure in the action of disease. This character of drug is represented not by a single effect, but by group of effects. This group of effect is only representation we have and can have of the medicinal character of the drug on the living body. And since these same effects are found in the disease state. These effects are only relationships that can be established between medicinal effects of the drugs and disease. There can be no law of cure unless it expresses some definite relationship between these two groups or classes. So what is explaining? If you want to reach to the right remedy, what is needed? What is needed? That first thing you must know the disease phenomena, and another side you must know the drug phenomena. On one side, you must know the totality of the symptoms of the patient, and you must know the antitype totality from the drugs which are already proved on healthy human beings. If it matches, then you can apply the law of cure. Otherwise, it doesn't have significance. Then you get exactly the cure, what you desired. So, whenever you have to apply the law of cure, you must know the disease symptoms as well as drug symptoms. And that's why last sentence which he mentioned over there, there can be no law of cure unless it expresses some definite relationship between these two groups or classes, that is the disease phenomena and drug phenomena. The homeopathic law establishes a definite relation not only between the proved drugs and known diseases, but between all the unexplored medical wealth and undeveloped requirements of sickness. Like the law of gravitation, the law of cure, as taught by Hahnemann, is not and cannot be limited to a small group of conditions. The limitation rests entirely with our ignorance. Hahnemann and followers constitute the only group of medical philosophers who have always been true to the inductive method of reasoning and by scientifically following the method of reasoning based upon known facts. They have established this law of therapy. So what he is explaining, there is a law of cure, the homeopathic law of cure, which is discovered by Hahnemann, was a completely law of universal application. It is not restricted to one field. It is not restricted only to a certain area. If we find some limitation of applying this law, it is the limitation of the homeopath and not of the homeopathy. This is what he is saying. He is saying over there, those who have understood the exact method of reasoning, then you can apply this law very easily and you can utilize this law for the purpose of therapy. So, what he wants to explain over there, this law of cure is not the law which is limited to the certain entities or certain area, but it is applicable everywhere. And that's why the nature's law of cure, why name is given nature's law? Because it is applicable in nature everywhere, wherever question of dynamics comes. The law, if you read properly, a weaker dynamic affection. What is dynamic? So dynamic happens to be there everywhere. So dynamic affections means any dynamic affection. If someone have failed and he becomes disturbed, dynamic affection. A weaker dynamic affection is permanently extinguished in the living organism by a stronger one if latter is very similar to former in its manifestation. So you apply the law of similars. If your friend is failed and she is or he is so disturbed because of it, then you go to him and how do you console him? You apply the law of similars. So what do? You console him, you tell him that you have failed in only one subject, but see him, that fellow, she has failed in 4 subjects. So why to worry about it? And you console. What you are applying? You are applying the law of similars, nature's law. So this is how it happens. If I am talking over here and some DJ comes outside, I cannot do anything. A weaker dynamic affection, which is expressed through my larynx in the form of sound, it's totally extinguished by the sound of DJ. Manifestations are same, but kind is different. Kind means throat. One kind is larynx, one kind is instrument. So if their kind is different, but manifestations are same, the weaker is permanently extinguished by the stronger. You can apply in nature everywhere this law, and this is true. That's why this law is called to be a law of universal application. I think we'll stop over here and we'll conclude this chapter in tomorrow's session. So we'll finish it tomorrow. So one more chapter from third year syllabus will be finished in tomorrow's session. Till today, this is sufficient. Today evening, we're going to meet again. I think I don't know the remedy which we have to discuss in today's session. It is petroleum. Yes, very important remedy. In fact, most important in our practice, and it is a remedy which we have to understand from exam point of view. Both point of view, we have to learn this remedy. So today evening, be there at 8:15 with petroleum from Alinsky Notes. So thank you.
So thank you very much, sir.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.